Hello, beautiful, wealthy women. As you know, I am always so inspired to bring you an amazing success story. And I'm always really motivated when the success story is around money, because as you know, many of you know, I am a money coach. And I do believe that having that strong foundation of everything related to money, whether it's mindset, strategies, systems, all of the things. It is so important. And my guest today, my expert guest, who is an amazing woman with what she helps others with, is going to talk to you today about what she does, how she does it, who she helps. And then we're going to, of course, get into all the fun success questions about how she went for her dreams so that you too can be inspired and know that you are not alone when you're building a dream. You have such a huge community of women that are here to support you, that are similar to you, that have gone through what you have gone through or are going through. And just, we all want to let you know to just keep to your dreams, keep making them happen, and then listen to these beautiful success story interviews as your inspiration and as your guiding light, because there's so much gold in these interviews, and especially today when it's related to money, because money is foundational and it allows us to not only help ourselves but to help so many others that matter to us or causes that matter to us. So let's get this money subject started, and I'm going to pass the video over to Heather now. Heather, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, what your company is about, and all of the good things.
Well, Tamara, thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Heather Gaunt Schmidt, and I am so excited to be with you here today. Talking about money is a passion, and it goes deeper than just money itself, but it goes deep into my roots. I am a biblical financial coach. So I base everything upon biblical principles and how that's applicable to our lives when we're being a steward of the money and the finances that God has given to us. So I'm excited to help others and coach others and let them see that making proactive financial decisions together and not fighting against your spouse and your partner realizes the dreams and the fulfillments that you want. Spending more time together, decreasing your stress, paying down your debt. I love the fact that 30 years in accounting has brought me to this point. I've done a lot of consulting with small business owners, and I'm ready to take that passion and reach out to families, which many of them are small business owners, usually speak with the mom, and she's at home or working from home, and she's feeling the financial stress. They say that 80% of women take care of the finances in the home. And so that's my audience. That's who I speak with. And I'm just excited to get them on this journey to decrease their stress and increase their joy.
I love this so much. And can you share the name of your company? Maybe even spell it out so that people can find out more about you and the programs that you offer.
Definitely. My company's name is Sensibility Financial Solutions. So as you can see behind me, it's a cent sign. So it's CENTS Ability Financial Solutions, but I'm found at sense4u.com. So it's CENTS, the number 4, YOU.com.
I love this. I think that this is such an important topic, and maybe we'll get into some of the limiting money mindset blocks that many women have. I mean, as a certified money mindset coach myself, and also experience with it, whether it was my own self or seeing my family or friends, there are certain themes that women may have that they don't realize it's a limiting belief because they grew up with it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. The first part of it is an awareness, right? Because if you're not aware, you can't change anything. And sometimes having these conversations, all of a sudden someone will be like, oh, wait a second, that's how I think, that's how I was raised. I didn't know I could think about it in a different way. And sometimes you don't even know you have a money block until something shows up to make you question it. And I maybe we'll talk a little bit about this because I'm very I love the biblical part of it because I have so much faith in God. My whole upbringing has been faith filled, and it will continue forever for me. And it was always this feeling that I just instinctively had about abundance and gratitude. And however, there are those money blocks. You grow up with parents sometimes, of course, they'll say, oh, money doesn't grow on trees, or uh, the rich people are evil, or things that we sometimes think that money isn't godly, basically. That if we have money, that somehow we are too focused on the material world and we're not close enough to the spiritual world. And I think this is a very important conversation to have, because when you come through this mindset shift, you will realize that money, actual physical money abundance, is going to allow you to reach the beautiful potential that you are blessed to have in this life experience you are having. As well as, if you have the abundance, you have a beautiful heart that wants to give and help others. Sometimes you need a lot of money to be able to do that, so your intention to help is wonderful, but it takes money to help as well. So, Heather, can you speak on some of the themes that you see show up so often in the way it relates specifically to money and God, and where there's friction, and how can you share to help women that are listening right now to start to realize, oh wow, I don't need to think that way. Money's not evil. Money's not limited. Money, all the things. Speak to this, because I love the whole side of the spiritual connection to money and abundance.
Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head with a couple of things of, money is evil, poor is next to godliness, money doesn't grow on trees, wealthy people are evil people. Those are a lot of misconceptions that we were just passed down through generations or our environment, for sure. One way that I like to put it is that you can't be a blessing if you're not blessed. So you can't pour from an empty cup. And we need to refill our cup with God, with the Holy Spirit. He says, renew your mind daily. And if we're not renewing our mind, then we're continually filling it with, in a sense, dirty water. And if you're going to pour out dirty water, what are you going to get? You're going to get dirty water coming out. So, when you refill yourself, a lot of people will think, oh, I'm being selfish. I'm taking me time. I'm taking self time. Well, even a lot of um, Christian believers think that I can't be that selfish. The Bible teaches about loving others and giving to others. And it's like, you can't give if there's an empty wallet. You can't give if your time is completely filled with working 60, 70-hour weeks. You can't give to yourself. You can't give to your family. You can't give to, again, like you were saying, causes and volunteering. So even when I teach my financial lessons, I don't just hit on just the income, just the money, because we're also called to be stewards of our time. We're called to be stewards of things that we're given. So many times our children here in America have huge amounts of toys. And when they outgrow those toys, what happens to them? They just sit in the closet. How about donating them to the younger generation so that they will have something to play with? donating them to children of incarcerated parents, donating them to a child who lost everything in a fire, um, or a flood, hurricanes, things like that. They've lost everything, and to teach your child that legacy, which is another lesson that I go into. Our legacy is not just how much they're going to inherit, it's what we've taught them. It's passing on a good name. It's passing on the lessons that we've learned. And that's completely biblical because Jesus had told us the stories, and we'll read in the Old Testament of them building an altar of remembrance. And then as the newer generations pass by those altars, they should remember the promises that God gave our forefathers, in this sense, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and said, I promised you this land. I promised you abundance. I promised you more than enough to care for you and the generations to come. And so that starts exactly like you said with our mindset. And I agree with you. Many, many times we don't even know that that block is there.
It's really true. And money is an energy, and it's like a river. It has to flow or it stagnates, So hoarding it also is not what you want to do, because hoarding money, never spending it, is coming from a place of fear that it won't be replenished. And so there's a lot of things you might have missed. One of the most common blocks, and I can admit to myself even having this one, was I was able to generate income, bring it in, achieve things. But because I didn't grow up in a wealthy atmosphere, I had a single mom, grandma doing our best, and it was a beautiful experience. However, we were just having a simple getting by kind of life. And that was wonderful. I have no complaints about it. But it also made me not know how to hold money when I actually earned it, or a home that I bought, like assets. And so there's an uncomfortability because it's not familiar. And somehow it will go away from you, whether it's your own mistake or somehow someone shows up in your life and it gets taken from you. Somehow there's an energy disconnect. And you'll see this shows up so often with lottery winners, basically people that
Mhm.
maybe never had money in their entire life, all of a sudden hit a windfall of $1 million, and it doesn't take long for them to lose that money because it's uncomfortable. And so the point of this, and let me just finish. The point of this is there's so much that we may not even realize is going on in our minds about money. Oh, if I make too much, my friends will feel like I'm above them and I don't want to lose my family and friend connection. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we don't even know. And so I've always said it's very important to get a coach, no matter what the scenario is. Have more than one coaches in different parts of your life, because they can objectively see what is going on with you, because they have an outside perspective, and also they have the expert training, right? And so this is what I love. Like, the work that you're doing is you're able to see sometimes what your clients or others can't see for themselves. And then they have those epiphanies, right? Those transformations just come like boom, and then they're changed for the better for the rest of their life, and then they can pass that on to the generations and create a more positive, abundant mindset going forward, right?
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with the word transformation, because I can teach and I can talk and I can coach all day, and it might change for a moment, and it's the timing of 95% of everything we do is subconscious, you know. I've moved over 40 times in my young life,
Mm,
and as I move to a new place, I will have to use GPS just to get to the grocery store because I don't know where I'm going. And then
yeah.
all of a sudden, one day you just realize, oh, I didn't need my GPS today,
Great analogy. I
you
love
know?
that.
And
Yeah.
and the Bible has given us a GPS. You talked about money flowing, and he says, "I will flow like rivers of living water."
Hmm.
And a river needs to be continuously flowing or it becomes stagnant.
That's
And
right.
then what does it attract? It attracts death and
And
bugs
good.
and,
Yeah.
negative things.
Yeah.
And, we want to be attractive to the world so that we can bring glory to God.
Yeah.
And we are not going to be attracting those people if we're living again, like you were saying, in that stalemate, in that familiar. And it is going to feel unfamiliar when you start making different choices. There's gonna be resistance, but you
Hmm.
have to lean into that resistance and
Yeah.
say, yes, I am choosing, deciding right now before a situation happens that I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
And by doing that something different, we are creating that legacy to move forward.
Yes. Before
And
we get into the success questions, like one of the things that you said before about children who have old toys and rather than just, have them stagnating, so to speak, like a
mhm,
river that isn't flowing in their closet, let the river flow, let them give those toys away to the next person that would be just so joyful. And this, when you think about it, for all of us adults, we can see that child has a toy and that toy can be given to another, right? So the idea is there that that child has abundance, that child has wealth because it has a toy. Similar to you as an adult being with, let's say, just cash money, your cash, your money is that toy. And if you have that like the child has a toy and you have the cash, both the child and you as an adult can have the ability to give it forward, right? To keep it, of course, enough for your family to flourish, enjoy it, but then also move it forward. And so if you're ever thinking as an adult that money is evil or I shouldn't take more than my share because it'll take away from somebody else, try and remember this analogy of this child with a toy. If they didn't have a toy, they couldn't make another child happy because they would have nothing to give to that other child. So think of it in your own adult self. If you don't have abundance with actual financials, you can't also give anything forward. So we need to wipe this slate clean that somehow money is evil. It is so not evil. Basically, as I think many of us are coming to realize, if you're already a good person, money's going to just make you even better at being good. If you have some negative qualities, then maybe money will highlight those negative qualities. But that's already the character of the person. It has nothing to do with the money. Money is just an amplifier, depending on what your nature is already. And so I just want all of these women, and I love the work that you're doing, to get past this fear of money. And sometimes, for those that are really connected to the spiritual side of things, knowing that, God, whatever is your higher power, wants abundance for you because then you're blessed and then everything also gets blessed if you keep it flowing and keep in a generous abundant mindset and focus on all the positive that it can do, and know that if you are a really good person you're only going to do really good things with that money. So
and I
yeah.
think you hit the nail on the head a little bit when you started talking about generosity. So gratitude and an idea of gratitude is one step. It's one of the first things that I touch with my clients. And I said, you know, buy a book, get an app, use something so that every single day you are finding something to be thankful for. And the only thing that I would differ with you is that if you are a child like mind with no toys and you're like, I'm just living paycheck to paycheck, how can I give out of abundance or how can I start giving? Well, we all have 24 hours in a day.
Yeah, it could be
Can you
time.
volunteer your
Mhm.
time? So
Yeah.
even that child without a toy, if they went outside to the neighbor child and started playing with them, playing hopscotch,
That's
picking
right.
up a stick and, I
Which
love
can mean
the
so
Three
much more.
Musketeers, but they're giving of themselves, they're
Mhm.
giving of their time,
That's right.
and that's also something in abundance that I mean, it's limited, but we all have the same limited time, but we can give of it.
Yes,
And, you can volunteer for your favorite organization, or
yes,
again, you can just volunteer and go to your neighbor. Maybe
absolutely.
they need a couple of meals, because they're homesick, even just checking on them, picking
Absolutely.
up the phone and actually making a phone call and not a text,
Yes.
can mean so much more sometimes. So it's not strictly about our
Of
cash
course.
money
Oh,
that
I
we
never
hold.
even, yes, I never
And
even
and I
intended
know
to
that,
say
but I
that.
wanted to give them
Yeah,
something else to think about, because
yeah,
you may not be there yet. You may not be in cash abundance,
right.
but you have yourself and you have your time that you can give to
Exactly.
others and start having that river flowing, so
And
that it's
yeah,
pouring into you so it can pour through you into others.
and it's a great first step too, because it gets you in the habit of what that, you have been the proof that you're giving, there's more than enough to give, it replenishes, you're moving that so-called river, it's an actionable quality, and it just gets the whole habit going in place, the whole gratitude
Mhm.
abundance mindset, so it starts to create those transformations and mindset shifts. And I remember, like, I don't even know, but from the longest period of time, I would say, like, pretty much, if you can't be grateful for what you already have, kind of why should you be given more? So you must start with gratitude. And this is really important too, because if you're ever feeling down or like a little lost, just get out a sheet of paper and write everything that you can be grateful for, and you will realize how blessed you are. And then think
Mhm.
about those that are less fortunate. And then you're like, wow, I am really blessed. Let me do something with these blessings and help another, like you said, whether it's time, volunteering, actual cash, actual toys, whatever it might be, because this basically what we're talking about is a major shift in an abundance mindset, and everything changes when you give yourself that freedom to um let that in, and become embody abundance and walk as abundant, because you are, everybody is, we just have to focus on it. So okay, I love it so far. So we're going to get into the success questions, and then you can tell us a bit about your journey creating your dream business and all of the things that went with that. So, my first question I always like to ask is, if you could only choose one answer, what is the number one way that building your business has enriched your life, and why would you encourage other women to also go and build their dream business?
One answer. Wow. Because when you start fulfilling your God-given dream, it begins to overflow in every area of your life. And when you're living within the purpose that you were born to do, the Lord talks that I prepared you in your mother's womb, and I gave you a hope and a purpose before you were born. I teach a lesson based on the life of Joseph. And Joseph's journey did start off easy, and it was extremely difficult. And none of his family accepted him, none of his family liked him. They end up selling him into slavery. Fast forward a whole lot. He becomes the basically vice president of Egypt, in charge of preparing for disasters. Disaster comes, and who does everyone go to? And even though I've learned this throughout my entire childhood, being a preacher's kid, you hear the story and you're like, "Yay, Joseph won." You know, I always thought that people came to him and it was given freely. He didn't give it for free. He sold it. So there's number 1.
Hmm.
God has given you the idea of a business so that you can be a blessing to others, but you don't do it for free. You bring in that income so that you can build your wealth, not to hoard it and store it, but to have it flowing and continuously coming out of you to be a blessing to others. So my journey started when my sisters would ask me for money and borrow it as a teenager because I'm the baby, but I had money. And they're
Mm.
like, "How do you keep all this money?" Well, at the point, I was hoarding it. Um, but, overcoming that scarcity mindset and saying, "All right, Lord, this is your money. You've given it to me to steward, to look after, to manage, and how can I manage that so that it is being a blessing and that it is helping others?" And that means using the skills and knowledge and experiences. Again, I've been in accounting for over 30 years, and that's my background with a master's degree. And I've loved the idea of being able to consult, but working for CPA and businesses, I wasn't allowed to use my foundation of biblical principles.
Right.
So I took that passion and the knowledge and experience of consulting and said, I'm going to help you based on what I've gained and what I know and what is so deep within my spirit, soul, and body that when you follow biblical principles, whether you call yourself a Christian or not, it's the law of sowing and reaping. You're going to get back what you sow, and it's going to be returned in you full fold, you know. And so my favorite verse is John 10:10. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I've come to give you life more abundantly, exceedingly overflowing. And I just hold on to that. When I get scared again or I fall back into an old mindset starts popping up, it's like, no, I'm going to renew my mind and say,
Mhm.
this is where I'm headed. This is where I want to go. My legacy that I want to leave with sensibility is to train other coaches so that they can continue on with the company and it keeps going after me. I mean, that's a huge legacy.
I love
And
that.
and
That's
just
fantastic.
so that's my heart behind my
Yeah.
company and my passion.
You said a really important thing there because, you had your big corporate job, which is cushy. There's plenty of women out there that are in a similar position, yet they feel this tug of a dream business that they want to really fulfill themselves completely, not just a portion of themselves. And there's that tug. When you made that decision, I'm sure it took some courage to do that. Can you give some words of wisdom to women that are right in that like middle ground right now where they want to break free, but they're just hesitating? Some sort of, encouragement for them.
Definitely. I'm a planner and I planned and planned and planned and I made all these rules. Oh, I need this much money in my savings account before I let go of a corporate job. I need to be able to replace my income. Um, and then I had a dream, while I'm sleeping and God just showed me the Grand Canyon. And if you're not an American, just Google it. It's beautiful. And he just starts stepping out, like when he got out of the boat and he stepped on the water and he's like, Peter, come to me. And he's like, come on, Heather, and he's holding out his hand. I'm like, dude, I know you're God, but not about to step out over the Grand Canyon. And
Mhm.
he's like, it's okay. Trust me, you know? And as I took a step, it was, fog starts lifting. There was solid ground to step on. And then, like, my dream sort of shifted to those video games where you're like, where do I step next? And the next
Yeah,
step
yeah,
lights
yeah.
up, and
Mm-hmm.
the next step lights up. And he, all of a sudden, now he's still a hand away from me. And it's like, wait. And he's like, well, I'm moving forward. You need to come towards me and you need to keep your eyes on me and not look down because it was still transparent. I'm still standing
Mm-hmm.
over the Grand Canyon. But he said, I will show you the next step to go. And so it's taking that leap of faith. At some point, you just have to say, I trust you, God, you know? And we don't want to leap out with unbelief. We don't want to leap out with no plan whatsoever, no GPS. But once he's given that to you and you feel the tug, you feel that calling, it's time to just do it.
Yes, yes.
It's time to
And
just
so,
take the step.
right. And would you say that sometimes the fears that we have before doing it, once we do it, are like no big deal? And we're like, why do we make such a big deal out of being so afraid or worried? Or it just sort of falls into place, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it really goes back to that faith element. Do I consider money to be my provider, or is Jehovah Jireh my provider? You know, is he going to look after me? And I've seen him time and time again since I've taken that leap, and the connections were going faster and faster and faster, and he exponentially gets me to the point where he wanted me, maybe even 5, 10 years ago, but I hesitated to take that step forward. And so just think about it. It's like, do you want to stay stuck where you are? Do you want to stay in that stagnant water, or do you want to move? The river is moving, and you can stand where you are, but is that really where you want to stay?
Wow, that was powerful. That was really beautiful. And I love that. I think that anyone listening to that is going to really feel it in their soul. And I have this question about how do you deal with fear and doubt. I think we covered that. But what I did want to ask you, in line with what you were just talking about, so you are very God centered. You grew up with it. This is a natural experience for you to have a dream like that. You're open for it. It finds you and you get it, right? Someone else, maybe they don't have that full soulful side of themselves developed, but they're interested. They want to kind of touch in. They want to get a sense of what is my direction? What should I be doing? Like asking for a sign and answer. So do you have any suggestions for those of faith and maybe not of, the faith that we're speaking about, that what what can they do to kind of connect with their inner selves for the guiding light that you were so uh, blessed to have and trust and follow? Um, what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, I know that there are quizzes, apps, things that you can say, what am I drawn to do? What comes naturally? And when you find that out, a lot of times you can immediately start seeing, oh, that's my calling. But then there's still lots of choices. God gives us freedom. How do
Yeah,
you want to use that? And it may be within a company,
yeah,
and you're just one of the best workers for that company, but then the company turns around and blesses you with bonuses, time freedom off, the availability to travel, the availability to train other people, you know,
yes,
um, and so, but I think taking some of those quizzes, whether it's a personality quiz or what we call the gifts, where am I gifted? But if you don't want to take the time, I know those are long and consuming, or sometimes they're not free. You can even just start asking yourself, but if you could find a partner, and this is actually one of the lessons that I go through, um, why do you want to do this? Why do you think you want to do this? Even if you're not sure what this is,
right,
but I enjoy doing, like I
right,
enjoyed teaching. I actually tried teaching for a while. And I thought, well,
mhm,
maybe I'm supposed to be a professor, and you go all over the place. Um,
absolutely.
but you took a step, I took a leap, I took a step forward, and I went a direction. I realized, not my direction. Let's go this way. So that's also one way you can do it, but asking yourself why. And by
Yeah,
doing it with a partner, you'll go a little bit deeper. and just keep going until literally as a woman, I
Yeah.
know men actually feel it too, but we show our emotions. When you get to that emotion of why, then you found your calling. Then you
Yeah.
found your
Yes.
purpose and
Yes.
where you're going. And again, that is something that I touch on, because when people come to me and they have a financial goal, they may not actually really know what that goal is. "Oh, I want to pay down
Mhm.
my debts. Oh, I want to pay the house off. Oh, I want to save up for a family vacation." Well, let's go a little bit deeper. Why do you want that?
Yeah. Mhm.
So
That's
you can start with a goal, you can start with an idea, and then ask yourself. But if you've got that coach or a person you can speak with, because we will only push ourselves up to the resistance. And then we're like, okay, that's far enough. I don't want to go any further. But you need to press beyond the resistance. You need to press beyond the fear and overcome it, or it will be that brick wall that just blocks you in.
Yeah, and then this goes back to the whole dream of the Grand Canyon, have trust, take the leap, and the next steps will appear. And also, from experience, I think most of us can say that the things that we feared so much, once we finally did them, they weren't the big bad wolf under the bed that we thought they were going to be. So let's try and not give so much power to fear,
Mhm.
and instead put it on faith, because that's going to be the more enjoyable way to live the life. I have one question. It's not on these cards, but it made me think about one of the benefits sometimes that not for every person in the corporate world, or, a 9 to 5 type of job situation. But one of the benefits that can happen from that is when they clock out of work, they're clocked out. And quite often with us entrepreneurs and, independent business owners, well, we love our business so much that our brain just keeps going and we're motivated, and that actually is a blessing. However, sometimes I it feels sometimes very difficult to just shut it down completely. And maybe we shouldn't, because ideas are sparked and that's how new ideas grow, but sometimes it can feel like intruding where we can't just clock out when it's our own business. Never asked this question before, so I don't know what to expect as far as an answer goes. But do you have any kind of thoughts or ideas for how maybe we can keep the office in the office and know that we'll get back to our work the next morning and we can pick it up where we left it off, and now we should shut our laptop off and get into the rest of our life experience without always circling with our business ideas. And again, this is a blessing because it's usually passion related, but however, sometimes it would be nice to just take a breath and not think about the business. Thoughts on that one?
And that's the important thing, that breath, breathing
Mm.
in life and breathing
Mm.
out the excess, breathing out the negative, breathing out the fears, breathing in the trust in the Holy Spirit. And we call that a Sabbath. We call that a
Mm.
Selah. It's taking a break. In music, you'll hear a term, a break or a Selah, which means to stop and take a breath. Um, God even showed us through his experience. If you follow his creation story, it's 6 days, and on the seventh day, he
Yeah.
rested. And they've proven scientifically that when you don't rest, you actually become counterproductive, working these 10, 12, 15-hour days.
Uh-huh.
And that's really scary because our healthcare workers work those long hours, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and we
Sure.
want them at their best,
Yeah.
you know, taking care of us when we're not feeling well. But you think about a mom, like you were saying, even a mompreneur who's holding her work from home job and she's balancing and she's great with the time management, but she feels overwhelmed and
Yeah.
burned out. And it's like,
Mhm.
how does that even relate to money? Well,
Yeah.
actually, if you'll stop and take the break, if you'll stop and take a nap, if
Yep.
you'll stop and And I call it tithing our time. It's like one day out of the week, I am not going to work. I'm
Yes.
going to give that time back to the Lord. I'm going to give that time to my family.
Yep.
I'm going to prioritize work will be there tomorrow. You know, it was proven by Chick-fil-A, for example, that they are actually making more money in 6 days than the companies that are open 7 days a week.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
based on that biblical principle of,
Mhm.
nope, we're going to take this day off. And he's had workers that do not take their Sabbath on Sundays. And they're like, well, we could run it because we're taking off on Saturdays or, sunset to sunset, on certain days of the week. And he's like, well, this is ours, just our founding. So this is our day off. This is our day of rest. And, you know, I know that like in Europe and Asia, there are companies where they're like, stop and take a nap.
Sundays.
You
Yep.
do not need, you need to stop and take a break. You need to take your meal breaks, you know?
Mhm.
And so with my lessons, again, I'll throw that into what I call me time. And I
Yeah.
came up with a great acronym for me time. And it's making an effort to indulge in my essence,
Oh, I
trademark
love that.
pending. But
Yes.
it's pouring back into yourself so that you are a flowing filled cup to overflow and give to others. Well, you can't do that if your cup is empty. You can't do that if you're dry. You can't do that if you're constantly overwhelmed and you're like, so the other biggest key, so one key would be to um, you know, just relax and take the Sabbath. When you're on vacation, don't take your computer. Turn
Mm.
Start small. Can you do an hour without your phone
Yeah.
and just spend time with your family? My husband and I love doing date nights. And during COVID, we had the hardest time because they were saying, "Oh, well, you need to use your phone." We didn't bring our phones. It's date night. We have a conversation face to face.
Wow. That's great.
And then taking the time to identify, this is where I'm going to take my breaks, and
Mhm.
saying no. That was key point 2 that I was trying to remember. Saying no. If
Mhm.
you were to call me as a client and say, well, I'd like to do 7 p.m. on Thursdays. I'm sorry, I already have something else booked at that time. How does 5 p.m. work for you? They don't have to know that 7 p.m. on Thursdays is your child's soccer game, or
Exactly.
it's, your bubble bath time. It's You have scheduled that time. And by saying no to one thing, you're saying yes to another. So what do
That's
you want to say
correct.
yes to? And when you
Mhm.
know your priorities and you've decided in advance, this is where I'm working towards, this is the goal that I'm working towards, it's really easy to say no.
I love this. And I think this is a great place to end our interview. And when you think about everything that you were just saying, boundaries, say yes to what you want to say yes to, say no to what you want to say no to, have the Sabbath or the rest day or days or parts of your day, whatever that might mean. Really, what this is abundance mentality again, because you know that there's plenty more when you're done with your rest. There's plenty more opportunities. If you say no to one, the better one will show up for you because you made space for it. And so if you can rethink about it like that, that it is actually a form and action of abundance to say no to work or opportunities. It is really faith that there's plenty more where that came from. And you need to rest yourself so that you can meet it successfully when it does show up, and then enjoy the other parts of your life when the business side is not happening. That was beautiful. I loved this interview so much. Thank you. Really, really, everything that you said was so robust and full and visual and emotionally uh, connected as well as logical. I think this was fantastic. And before we sign off, go ahead and let everyone know again where they can find you. And yeah,
Again, the company name is Sensibility Financial Solutions, and I am at sense4u.com. CENTS, the number 4, YOU.com. Because when you make proactive financial decisions, that makes sense for you.
I love that. Heather, you're fantastic. Thank you so very much. And oh, women, was this just beautiful? So go out there with faith filled abundance mindset and just make it happen for yourself, and don't overthink it, don't over worry it. Put your energies into faith, put your energies into abundance, into rest, into revitalizing yourself, and just showing up to meet yourself where you are so that your cup can overflow and be not only a blessing to you, your family, and others, but continue that way. And let it be easy and let it be enjoyable. So these are all mindset things, and that's really the foundational part of most everything. So thank you so much for watching or listening, and I will be back soon. This is Coach Tamara from Wealthy Woman Every Day, and I'm so happy to bring you these beautiful success stories. Until next time, bye for
Thanks,
now.
Tamara.
Thank you. Thank you.